I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and yeah, it's Monday. You don't like Mondays, the time changes got you thrown off. I'm right here for you, friends, because I've got a dogfight between two hot Android phones. One is the Nexus 4, the other one is the Sony Xperia Z. There's a lot to offer here. There's a lot to offer over here as well for stock Android fans. Which one's the best? We're going to put them together in a dogfight and find out. Is it the Nexus 4 or the Xperia Z? It's Phone Dog's full dogfight, and it starts right now. So at first glance, these devices may look a little bit different. You may think that they function differently, and they do in some ways. You've got the LG Nexus 4, also known as the Google Nexus 4, over here. This is a stock Nexus device, the latest iteration and the popular, at least amongst techies, popular brand. And then you've got the Sony Xperia Z over here. It was announced at CES 2013. It's packing some killer specs, and it's got a skin on it, so it's intended to appeal a little bit more to the mainstream consumer. It's not yet available in the US. My hope is we'll see it as the ZL, perhaps on AT&T, or even better, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint. Doubt we'll see it on Verizon, but definitely would hope to see it on all four major carriers in the United States. Let's take a step away from the dogfight and thank our partners at Best Buy Mobile, because at Best Buy Mobile you can walk out with the same device you ordered online just a second ago with same-day pickup. But it's not just that. When you really boil down to it in terms of design and actually in terms of usability as well, there are a lot of similarities between these two devices. We'll start with the Nexus 4 over here. Specs-wise, you're looking at a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU. So this thing is packed to the gills with some nice specifications. You got that quad-core CPU, a 4.7-inch LCD, HD display, 720p over on this device. Actually a little bit better than 720p, but HD display over here on this unit. 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD recording. You've got a 2,100 milliamp hour non-removable battery. It's integrated in there, and it's got a beautiful build as well. When you really boil down to it, though, what I love about this phone, $300 gets you the 8GB version, and from an internal storage perspective, it's not that much, keeping in mind there's no expandable memory options on this device, but love the fact that you can pick up an 8GB variant for $300, and that is no contract. $299 gets you this phone out of the gate, and it's beautiful. It's got glass in the front, glass in the back, just a beautiful build quality all around. And like I said, these are very similar in terms of design because they're both absolutely gorgeous devices. Then there's a Sony Xperia Z over here, like I said, announced at CES 2013, and specs-wise, you're looking at some different specs over here, kind of similar, like I said, in a lot of different ways. 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU over on this device. You've got a 5-inch 1080p HD display, so steps it up over here to full HD and slightly larger as well, 5 inches as opposed to 4.7. You've got a 13.1 megapixel camera on the back with 1080p recording, a 2,330 milliamp hour battery, so slightly larger, but then again the display is larger, so you have to factor that into consideration as well. But it is non-removable, just like the Nexus 4. And you've got kind of an industrial look and feel over on this device. You've got a power button over here, you've got your volume rocker on the right side, you've got your area here for your micro SIM card slot, which these are always hard to get out. This is also, I should note, dust resistant and water resistant thanks to all these cool little ports that are covered by these flaps, but really a beautiful device all around over here as well. Glass in the front, glass in the back. And then you got your 3.5mm headphone jack up top, which because of focus issues is making it really hard to see, but you've got that over here. And then on this side, wireless charging capabilities, micro SD card slot. So you do get expandable memory choices on the Xperia Z. Both of these are running later builds of Android. This is actually running 4.2.2, the later version of Jelly Bean. This is running 4.1, still Jelly Bean, but an older version of Jelly Bean with Sony's user interface. So design-wise, both beautiful devices. Price is a little bit different over here, though. If you're bringing this into the States, you're looking at about $780 shipped. So like I said, hopefully we'll see the ZL on like an AT&T, and they'll price it at like $99 or $149 maybe, and you can get a killer device at a great price, subsidized. But that said, both are fantastic units. So I really want to focus a little bit on the displays here, and we'll talk about this more in part 2. But you got 4.7 over here, 720p, 5 inches over here, 1080p on this device, so full HD. Really, both are beautiful displays. Colors pop on both, and keeping in mind the price point difference between both of these, there's really a case to be made about, hey, $300 gets you an HD display, but $780 gets you a full HD display at 1080p. But it is absolutely gorgeous. The display, the winner, is clearly the Xperia Z. It's beautiful all around, and I can go to a video just to give you a comparison here. Let's jump over to Video Unlimited and see what we can find in here to give you a sample because it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's see. Come on now. It's loading up on HSPA Plus. And I should also point out both of these devices run on HSPA Plus. These are not LTE capable, at least in the States. So if you're on AT&T or T-Mobile, they're both unlocked, but you can get HSPA Plus 42 megabits per second on T-Mobile. You can get up to 21 megabits per second over on AT&T. So let's see if I can find that video for you. And here we go, loading up movies. I always forget where they are over here. So let's just bring up something like Xperia HD Landscapes, for example, because I really want to show you what the colors. It is gorgeous. I mean, the display, the camera does not do it justice. Beautiful colors. They pop. They look gorgeous. The wallpapers are incredible here as well, and I can just scroll through. I'm not going to make you go through the whole minute of this, but you can really just see display, beautiful. Definitely a selling point of this device. Another thing that's going to be great for a lot of people, if you consume a lot of content, you browse the web, you text message, you do stuff that's going to be better with a larger display, I think the Xperia Z is going to be a nice option for you as well. So we'll go ahead and go through the applications just to see what comes out of the box. Stock Android over here. Unlocked device means that you're going to get no carrier applications on either one of these units, but what you do get over here, you'll see Google integration currents, you'll see Google Plus, you'll see this new Google Plus settings thing, and you'll see those over here as well. Chrome out of the box, but then you see some Sony stuff over here as well. Album, and then as we scroll through, you can also see Let's Start PSM, Media Remote, Music Unlimited, Neo Reader, Play Memories Online, Play Now, Sony Car, Sony Select, Walkman, Update Center, Video Unlimited. So you do get some Sony value-added applications over here. And I think what they're trying to do, or at least I hope what they're trying to do, is go head-to-head with Samsung and Apple because Sony has the ecosystem. I mean, Sony makes some fantastic TVs. Sony's done the great work in the PlayStation department, great work in movie department. I mean, they've got a huge ecosystem that they can leverage. And if they can really market this device and get it on multiple carriers in the States, they can leverage that movie network, they can leverage that PlayStation network, and really make a device that's an all-in-one movie device, gaming device, and something that can beat, honestly, in a lot of ways, the Samsung devices on the market and the Apple devices on the market. So I say Apple devices like there's more than one. It's really the iPhone. I guess there's more than one iPhone, but you get my point in what I'm saying with the ecosystem. So let's go ahead and go through some of the Sony applications actually and take a look at movies we already take a look at, but I wanted to show you this as well because I think it's pretty useful. It's called Social Life. Much like Google Currents over here on the Nexus 4, it's an aggregator where you can bring in your news, your Twitter, your Facebook streams, and bring them all together and kind of post something from your own. So let's say I want to post from Twitter or I want to post from Facebook as well. I can do that just by clicking, and I can say I want this to come from my Twitter account, and I can say hello Dogfight, and I can hit send, and it'll automatically post. So again, social aggregator, much like Blink Feed on HTC's One, much like Currents over here on the Nexus 4, very useful all around to see news. That said, Google's done a fantastic job over here with Currents, and I absolutely love this application. The text looks incredible, much like Google Plus. To me, there are two Google applications that look fantastic. One is Google Plus, the other one is Google Currents. I mean, this thing is beautiful, it's clear, the fonts are great, it loads quickly, and you can see it's really a clean-cut application all around. And we can see, we'll go to Savura, don't lean in, Savor. Apple's iTV, actually be Samsung's blah blah. Let's see here, and you can see if this were loading properly, I would have text over here as well, but just really a beautiful application all around. Let's take a look at text messaging as well, speaking of text, because I want to show you the keyboard differences on both devices. So out of the box, you get Sony's keyboard over here, you get an Android keyboard over here, the Jelly Bean keyboard, and there's a couple of different options over on this unit. You've got swipe-like functionality built in with Android's keyboard. Hey there, how are you doing? Portrait to landscape, you got quad-core processors on both of these devices, so they're relatively fast with little to no lag. That said, what I have noticed on the Nexus 4, because I'm carrying this as part of a 30-day challenge, I have seen the occasional lag, the occasional stutter on the Nexus 4, and I find that a lot of times it's when I'm going into an application. When I'm clicking on something, what will happen, and if you know this on Android 4.2, when you click on an application, you'll notice it highlights kind of in the background. That color gradient comes in when you click on something and it highlights. A lot of times for me it freezes right there. So it's like I've clicked on it, it brings up that color gradient and stops for about 1 to 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden it kind of stutters back to life and loads the application. I've seen that 10 or 12 times on this device just in the 30-day challenge period in which I've been working with it. Over here as well, you got your keyboard, and it's Sony's Xperia keyboard. You have Google Voice typing available on both of these units as well. And then over here, I'll say, hey there. I'll say the same thing. Hey there, how are you doing? Much improved over previous Sony keyboards. What I will say, hey there, how are you doing? There we go. But what I will say, definitely not my favorite in comparison to some of the others on the market. Sense's keyboard's fantastic. Don't really care for the TouchWiz keyboard. Motorola's is decent. And then there are a bunch of different options you can get through Google Play as well. So take a look at those. Many of those are free. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll talk a lot more about web browsing. We'll talk about speed tests and overall camera performance in both of these units in part 2 of the Dogfight between the Nexus 4 and the Xperia Z. Come on back now for part 2.